May 6, 1950. Bel Air Country Club, Los Angeles. Elizabeth Taylor walks down the aisle in a stunning white gown designed by Helen Rose. She's 18 years old. Radiant. In love. She's marrying Conrad Nicky Hilton Jr., heir to the Hilton Hotel fortune, 600 guests. Flash bulbs, society reporters, the wedding of the year. It should be the most private, personal moment of Elizabeth's young life. Instead, it's a carefully orchestrated publicity event for MGM Studios. 12 days later, May 18, 1950, Radio City Music Hall, New York. Father of the Bride premieres. Elizabeth Taylor plays a bride whose father struggles with wedding preparations. The promotional campaign is unprecedented. "See Elizabeth Taylor as a bride," the posters scream. "Life imitates art." MGM's publicity department has hit gold. Elizabeth Taylor, real-life bride, playing a movie bride. The same dress designer for both ceremonies. Perfect timing that seems like magical coincidence. Except it isn't coincidence. It's calculated corporate exploitation. MGM controlled the timing of Elizabeth's real wedding to maximize publicity for their movie. They turned the most personal moment of her young life into a marketing campaign. Her real marriage became a promotional tool. Her private happiness became corporate profit. This is the story of how Hollywood's most powerful studio exploited an 18-year-old girl's wedding day to sell movie tickets. And how Elizabeth Taylor learned that at MGM, even love was just another product to be marketed. To understand what happened to Elizabeth Taylor, you need to understand MGM in 1949. Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer wasn't just a movie studio. It was a machine that controlled every aspect of its stars' lives. Where they lived, what they wore, who they dated, when they married, what they said in interviews, how they spent their money. The studio system owned actors completely. 7-year contracts that gave MGM total control. Stars were property. Valuable property, but property nonetheless. Louis B. Mayer, the studio chief, saw himself as a father figure to his stars, a benevolent dictator who knew what was best for them. "My actors are my children," Mayer would say. "I protect them from themselves." But protection looked a lot like control. Elizabeth Taylor, at 17, was one of MGM's most valuable assets. National Velvet had made her a star at 12. Life with Father confirmed her as a major draw. But she was also a problem. Beautiful, independent, smart enough to question studio decisions. MGM needed to maintain control. And wedding publicity became their weapon. Father of the Bride was in development throughout 1949. Based on Edward Streeter's best-selling novel about a father dealing with his daughter's wedding. Perfect for Elizabeth. She was the right age, had the right wholesome image. Could play both sophisticated and innocent. But MGM executives saw something bigger than just casting. They saw an opportunity. What if Elizabeth actually got married around the time of release? Publicity chief Howard Strickling suggested during a planning meeting. Real wedding plus movie wedding equals massive publicity, added Dory Shari, head of production. The only problem, Elizabeth wasn't dating anyone seriously. That would have to change. Fall 1949. Elizabeth Taylor meets Conrad Nicky Hilton Jr. at a party hosted by MGM executive Benny Thau. Nicky is perfect for MGM's purposes. Heir to a hotel fortune, handsome, social register family, exactly the kind of husband who would enhance Elizabeth's image. The meeting isn't accidental. MGM has been cultivating this introduction for months. Elizabeth is 17. Nikki is 23. She's been working since age 10. He's never had a real job. But the romance serves everyone's interests. Elizabeth wants to marry young. Nikki wants the publicity of dating a movie star. MGM wants a wedding they can exploit. The courtship is heavily managed. Studio photographers document every date. Gossip columnists receive regular updates. Fan magazines publish exclusive interviews about their fairy tale romance. By December 1949, the engagement is inevitable. Not because of overwhelming passion, but because all parties need it to happen. Nikki proposes on Christmas Day. With photographers present, of course. Elizabeth Taylor engaged, the headlines scream. Hilton heir wins movie princess. MGM's publicity machine goes into overdrive. But they're not just selling romance. They're selling father of the bride. Every engagement story mentions Elizabeth's upcoming movie about a bride whose father plans her wedding. Every interview includes questions about wedding preparations. Every photo shoot features Elizabeth in bridal-themed outfits. The engagement becomes a 6-month advertisement for a movie that hasn't even finished filming. These forgotten stories deserve to be told. If you think so too, subscribe and like this video. Thank you for keeping these memories alive. January 1950. Elizabeth begins costume fittings for Father of the Bride with Helen Rose, MGM's chief costume designer. Rose is a legend. She's dressed every major MGM star for over a decade. Her wedding dress designs have influenced fashion worldwide. For Father of the Bride, Rose creates a stunning white gown for Elizabeth's character, Kay Banks. Satin, seed pearls, cathedral train, the perfect movie wedding dress. But Rose is designing more than just costumes. MGM asks her to create Elizabeth's real wedding gown, the dress she'll wear to marry Nicky Hilton. This isn't unusual. Studios often dress their stars for public events. But the timing is deliberate. Having the same designer for both dresses creates a publicity hook. The woman who dressed Elizabeth for her movie wedding also designed her real wedding. Rose understands her role. She's not just creating costumes. She's creating marketing opportunities. The movie wedding dress and real wedding dress become sister designs. Similar silhouettes, complementary styles, photographed side by side in fan magazines. Elizabeth's real wedding becomes an extension of her movie role. The line between Elizabeth Taylor, the actress, and Kay Banks, the character blurs completely. Spring 1950. Elizabeth's engagement dominates entertainment coverage. But every story serves MGM's interests. The studio controls access completely. Which photographers can take pictures? Which reporters get interviews? Which details are revealed? Elizabeth and Nicky can't make any decisions without studio approval. Wedding date, guest list, location, honeymoon destination. Everything must serve the Father of the Bride publicity campaign. We want the wedding close to the movie's release, Howard Strickling tells Elizabeth. Maximum promotional impact. But we wanted a June wedding, Elizabeth responds. May is better for the movie. What about what Nicky and I want? What you want is a successful career. This wedding will guarantee that. Elizabeth is 18 years old. She's been at MGM since age 10. She doesn't know how to separate personal desires from studio demands. If MGM says May is better, May it is. The wedding date is set for May 6th, 1950, 12 days before Father of the Bride's premiere. Perfect timing for publicity, terrible timing for a private ceremony. April 1950, 1 month before Elizabeth's wedding. MGM's publicity campaign reaches fever pitch. Every major magazine features Elizabeth on the cover. Bride-to-be plays bride. Elizabeth's double wedding. The studio coordinates interviews, photo shoots, and promotional events. Elizabeth's wedding preparations become content for Father of the Bride promotion. Fitting sessions with Helen Rose are photographed for fan magazines. Wedding planning meetings become publicity opportunities. Even Elizabeth's bridal shower is covered by studio photographers. The private becomes public, the personal becomes promotional. Elizabeth starts to crack under the pressure. "I can't tell the difference between my real wedding and my movie wedding," she tells her mother. "They're the same thing now, darling," Sarah Taylor responds. "That's what the studio wants." "But what about what I want? You want to be a star. This is how you stay a star." Elizabeth has been famous since age 12. She doesn't remember life without cameras, without publicity, without studio control. Her wedding becomes just another performance. May 1st, 1950. 5 days before Elizabeth's wedding. Father of the Bride holds its final preview screening. Elizabeth attends with Nikki. They watch herself play a bride on screen. Then they go home to prepare for her real wedding. The irony is overwhelming. Life imitating art, imitating life. Helen Rose makes final adjustments to Elizabeth's real wedding gown. The same woman who dressed her for the movie now dresses her for marriage. "You look just like Kay Banks," Rose tells Elizabeth during the final fitting. "I am Kay Banks," Elizabeth responds. "That's what MGM wants." The studio has successfully merged Elizabeth's identity with her character's identity. The actress has become the role. May 5th, 1950. 1 day before the wedding, MGM holds a press conference. Not about Father of the Bride, about Elizabeth's marriage. This wedding proves that Hollywood can produce real fairy tales. Louis B. Mayer tells reporters, "Elizabeth Taylor is living the same story she tells in Father of the Bride." The press conference is actually a movie promotion disguised as a wedding announcement. Elizabeth sits beside Mayer, smiling for cameras. Inside, she's exhausted, confused, overwhelmed by the merger of her public and private lives. "Are you excited about tomorrow?" a reporter asks. "Yes," Elizabeth answers automatically. "It's like a dream come true." But whose dream? Hers or MGM's? If you want more untold stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. Your support means everything to us. May 6th, 1950. Bel Air Country Club. Elizabeth Taylor's wedding day. It should be private, intimate, personal. Instead, it's a carefully orchestrated media event. 600 guests. But Elizabeth knows maybe 50 of them personally. The rest are MGM executives, industry figures, and publicity contacts. The ceremony is designed for photographs. The reception planned for maximum coverage. Every detail serves promotional purposes. Elizabeth walks down the aisle in Helen Rose's gown. Photographers capture every moment, not just society photographers, MGM's publicity photographers. The wedding photos will be used to promote Father of the Bride for months. During the reception, Elizabeth is pulled away from her new husband repeatedly. Photo sessions, interviews, publicity requirements. "This is supposed to be my wedding day," she tells her publicist. "This is your wedding day and your biggest publicity opportunity." Elizabeth spends more time with reporters than with Nikki. The bride becomes a prop in her own wedding. May 18th, 1950. Radio City Music Hall. Father of the bride premieres. Elizabeth arrives with Nicky. They've been married for 12 days. Still newlyweds. The publicity campaign has worked perfectly. Elizabeth Taylor, real bride, attending the premiere of her movie about a bride. Elizabeth's double celebration, the marquee reads. Real bride plays movie bride. The promotional materials are shameless. Side-by-side photos of Elizabeth in her movie wedding dress and real wedding gown, both designed by Helen Rose, as the publicity notes emphasize. Elizabeth watches herself on screen, playing a bride, while sitting next to her real husband. The confusion is overwhelming. Which wedding was real? The movie wedding or the Bel Air Country Club wedding? Both feel like performances now. During the intermission, Elizabeth is interviewed by reporters. How does it feel to play a bride right after becoming a bride? It's strange, Elizabeth admits. I can't tell the difference anymore. The reporters laugh. They think she's joking. She isn't. Summer 1950. Father of the Bride is a massive hit. $6 million worldwide gross. One of the year's biggest successes. Critics praise Elizabeth's performance. Audiences love the wholesome family story. MGM congratulates itself. The publicity campaign worked perfectly. Elizabeth's real wedding generated massive media coverage. The movie benefited enormously. This proves the power of coordinated publicity, Howard Strickling tells Variety. When life and art work together, everyone wins. But did everyone win? MGM made millions. Father of the Bride launched a franchise. Elizabeth's star power increased dramatically. But what about Elizabeth herself? Her private life had been commodified. Her most personal moment turned into a marketing campaign. Her wedding day exploited for corporate profit. At 18, Elizabeth doesn't understand the full implications. She's been managed by MGM since childhood. This level of control seems normal. But the pattern is established. Elizabeth's personal life belongs to MGM. Her relationships, her marriage, her private moments are all potential publicity opportunities. She's not just a contracted actress. She's a product, a brand, a marketing opportunity. Fall 1950. Elizabeth and Nicky return from their honeymoon. The publicity machine never stops. Their marriage is constantly photographed, constantly analyzed, constantly used to promote Elizabeth's career. Hollywood's happiest newlyweds, Elizabeth's fairy tale marriage. But the marriage was created for publicity. When the cameras aren't rolling, problems emerge. Nicky has a drinking problem, gambling debts, a violent temper that MGM's publicity department carefully hides. Elizabeth discovers her husband was chosen more for his publicity value than his character. The marriage that was exploited for movie promotion begins to crumble. Winter 1951. Less than a year after the fairy tale wedding, Elizabeth files for divorce. Elizabeth's marriage over. Hollywood fairy tale ends. The same publicity machine that exploited their wedding now exploits their divorce. MGM spins the story carefully. Elizabeth as the innocent victim, Nicky as the disappointing husband, the studio as the protective father figure. But the truth is simpler. The marriage was a publicity creation. When the publicity value ended, the marriage ended too. Elizabeth's first marriage was sacrificed for Father of the Bride's success. The success of the Father of the Bride publicity campaign establishes MGM's template for managing Elizabeth's life. Every relationship becomes potential publicity. Every personal milestone becomes marketing opportunity. Elizabeth's subsequent marriages to Michael Wilding, Mike Todd, Eddie Fisher, and Richard Burton are all managed by studio publicity departments. Her private life never again belongs to her. The exploitation that began with Father of the Bride continues for decades. Elizabeth becomes the most photographed, most publicized, most merchandised star in Hollywood history. But it starts with her 18-year-old wedding being used to sell movie tickets. The precedent set in 1950 follows Elizabeth for the rest of her career. Her personal life as public entertainment, her relationships as publicity opportunities. MGM taught Hollywood that stars' private lives could be more valuable than their public performances. Elizabeth Taylor became the test case for maximum celebrity exploitation. Decades later, Elizabeth would reflect on her first marriage and the Father of the Bride promotion. "I was 18 years old," she said in a 1992 interview. "I didn't understand that my wedding was being used to sell a movie. I thought that was just how things were done." "Did you ever have a private moment during that period?" the interviewer asked. "No. Everything was managed. Everything was photographed. Even my honeymoon was a photo opportunity." "Do you think the publicity hurt your marriage?" "My marriage was the publicity. When the movie campaign ended, there was nothing left." Elizabeth's first wedding became the template for celebrity exploitation. Personal moments as marketing tools, private life as public entertainment. The success of Father of the Bride's publicity campaign changed how Hollywood managed its stars. Every major studio adopted similar strategies. But it started with an 18-year-old girl whose wedding day was used to sell movie tickets. May 6, 1950. Elizabeth Taylor walks down the aisle. She thinks she's getting married. Actually, she's starring in the longest movie promotion in Hollywood history. May 18, 1950. Father of the Bride premieres. Elizabeth attends with her new husband. She watches herself play a bride on screen, while being a bride in real life. The distinction becomes meaningless. MGM has successfully merged Elizabeth's identity with her character's identity, her personal life with her professional life, her private moments with her public image. Father of the Bride becomes one of 1950's biggest hits. The publicity campaign is studied and copied throughout Hollywood. Elizabeth's exploitation becomes the industry standard. Her wedding day was used to sell a movie. Her marriage was created for publicity. Her private life was commodified for corporate profit. At 18, Elizabeth Taylor learned that at MGM, even love was just another product to be marketed. The studio that claimed to protect its stars like children actually exploited them like products. Elizabeth's real wedding became a promotional event. Her personal happiness became corporate profit. The most private moment of her young life was turned into the most public marketing campaign in Hollywood history. MGM exploited Elizabeth Taylor's wedding to sell Father of the Bride and established the template for celebrity exploitation that continues today. The wedding that sold a movie. The marriage that was a marketing campaign. The 18-year-old girl who learned that in Hollywood, nothing is private when it can be profitable. Behind Hollywood's golden facade, the biggest stars hid the darkest secrets. Every glamorous smile concealed scandals that would shock the world. If you want to uncover more hidden truths about classic Hollywood's biggest legends, subscribe now and hit that notification bell. The real stories are always more shocking than the movies.